I just want to start with allowing you to properly introduce yourself. I know you as Colin Anderson, founder of Eureka Compass Vegan, and of the amazing open markets, which I know you talk about a lot in collaboration with community. But yeah, just introduce yourself and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Colin Anderson, and I live in the Hamlin Midway neighborhood of St. Paul. I started Eureka Compass Vegan Food in 2017, kind of with the motivation of what I would now know to call full scope veganism, of looking at reducing harm in all aspects of how we're operating a community serving vegan food distribution hub. And so with that, it was a focus on decreasing the waste, decreasing the environmental toll of sourcing the ingredients, and making that nourishment accessible to as many people as possible. Operating in a out of the way place, low income rent, and just having it where the focus was on the true purpose of food to nourish your existence. And through that, we've done so much. And I think that, like a lot of people and a lot of endeavors in the Twin Cities, the pandemic, the unrest after the murder of George Floyd, really exposed so much of how we can best serve our neighbors. And that's what we've continued to do through expanding the community dinner program, through expanding my own time spent working in food justice in the community through the Zion Community Commons. And then roughly 14 months ago, beginning the all vegan open market and community meal program, out of understanding that as our food system destabilizes and collapses, donation-based food shelves were actually never working, and now how much they're not working is that much more apparent. So our goal right now is to work within a community-led mutual action system to create a more secure, equitable, and sustainable model of commerce for distributing the essential resources of nourishment to all in our community. Gluten-free, they're nut-free. They're, for the most part, corn-free now entirely, often soy-free. Like if you're going to exclude people from your table at a community dinner, it's not a community dinner. And I think that, I'll be the first to acknowledge the problematic nature of a lot of the vegan community, and I'll refer to them as plant-based. If you're shipping cashews from West Africa, where 90% of them are grown, to Southeast Asia to be processed, to be wrapped in plastic and shipped to a Whole Foods in Detroit, there was nothing vegan about that. You killed a bunch of stuff doing that. Taking a genetically modified, lab-made, modified, frozen, edible commodity like an Impossible Burger, wrapping it in plastic, freezing it, and shipping it from Oakland to Dubai. There's nothing vegan about that. That's a colonizing corporation that killed a bunch of stuff doing that. And this is where, before we started recording, I was talking about full scope veganism. Like, really, what is all of that? And that it's to sit there and say, I'm vegan for myself. There's so much. I bike for the polar bears. I take the bus for the environment. I, remain active for my health. You could sit here and eat Oreos all you want, and you could still say you're vegan, but not by how we define it and try to live it. So I want to model, like, Look at me. This is fun. Look what we're doing. Look at the community I'm with. Look at all that we're seeing. That this isn't if you're going to choose to be confronted by it, that's your choice. I'm not forcing this on you. I'm just saying, hey, here's one meal, be nourished. I just want you to be healthy. I want you to be nourished. I want you to appreciate and value the beauty and uniqueness of all that's available to us here in this community, as opposed to the homogenized mediocrity of bad strawberries in January, or, the same frozen meat thing that you can get in St. Louis, that you can get in Pittsburgh, that you can get in Anchorage. That doesn't represent this community, and that we should really be very proud and supportive and nurturing of those directly around us. And so that's what we demonstrate through the community dinners and how I model my veganism.
Can you just talk a little bit about like that process of how your work started in 2017 to how it got to where it is now?
I would say that I really started Eureka Compass kind of out of the necessity that I needed to understand that there was no possible way that I could be employed by anyone else. That I needed to, I was witnessing through 30 years in the food business, through my family's confectionery in Richmond, Illinois, to 12 seasons on an organic vegetable farm, to almost a decade at Whole Foods Market, to wholesale produce distribution within the Twin Cities, to catering sales manager at an award-winning restaurant in St. Paul, working with a James Beard award-winning chef, to being vegan for the longest time was just something that was just really like me and my partner Aaron. That was like our thing. And so we cooked a lot at home. We did all of this, and then going out to restaurants and being, very disappointed in the mediocrity of it. Of I want something better than just a faux burger.
A bed of greens.
Right. And so when I started, I didn't grow up in Chicago. I grew up in rural northern Illinois, but I was in Chicago a lot. We were in Chicago a lot. And these just neighborhood, small community, just little hole in the wall places that were always the best, and it wasn't fancy. If you walk into a restaurant and they have a fancy pressed metal ceiling, there's a reason for that, because you're not going to be focused on the plate, and this also goes into, we've corrupted what food is. We eat and drink stuff that gives us disease and illness. We toxify the environment and corrupt the human body and burn our future, shipping commodities, edible commodities, to places where healthful nourishment already exists. That which is to nourish our existence cannot be a threat to our ability to exist. I can articulate that now. I didn't know to say that in 2017, but that was what I was operating under. Of, we need all of this not to be where you go into a place and you can order the same thing all the time. That model, that convenient consumerism, is killing us. It's a self-annihilating system for individual profit for very few people. But to say, why don't we value the beauty of impermanence? Instead of sitting here and saying, I wish I could get this all the time, say, how lucky am I to have experienced this, and to never repeat a recipe. We did this for years, continue to do it. What I'm going to serve tonight, I've never made any of it before, and to exist in the beauty of a place that within the culinary community, so many people get burned out because it's just fire fries, chicken fingers, and it's you're a machine. And so it was I can actually do something where I can constantly exist in a moment of creation and share that with everybody. And then it's also someone who's going to sit there and defy all of human existence and say like, oh, that's my idea. That's our proprietary recipe. You're a liar. You're a total liar. That's not accurate. And to be able to be like, oh, you want to know how to make that? I'll tell you how to make it. I want you to be empowered. We've hurt so many generations by not teaching them how to grow and prepare their own food, like the foundation of existence. And so now you've created this like fantasy land where like dinner's a miracle. The person reheating your, vegan patty at the restaurant is some sort of genius, not an exploited human drone. And so it was like, no, this is, and like, here's the alternative. Here's what this could be, is that we just share this. And did that for a while, and did that to, into creating community around it, which is going to lead directly to where you came into Eureka in 2020 of, that this has to be about these people. This has to be about, everyone, that it being a third space outside of home and work, that it's being a third space where everyone has the ability to take some ownership and some responsibility and guiding, some stewardship of it and be a part of it. And, then being like, well, we need, should try to have an all vegan grocery option, here. And also knowing that I can do this more efficiently than like a Whole Foods or even a co-op, because I never have to spoil anything out. I'll just use the Punk Rock Labs cheese in something. I'll just use this in something. It'll never just get thrown out. Once it's just time, we'll just do it here. Tofu, whatever, we'll just cook with it. And the uniqueness of being in that situation. And then the pandemic hit. And Aaron and I were up north. We were up in Grand Marais. We were driving back down. Aaron is heavily involved in legislative and lobbying and government actions. And so she knew this was coming. We were listening to the announcement. It's a Monday. It was like Monday, March 16th or something. And I just start texting people, customers, friends, because that's what Eureka Compass is, where I have all these people's, like the phone number on the website was my cell phone. So I have directly communicating, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. Tomorrow might be the last day that Eureka Compass is open. And we get back home. I go in the next day, and we just start getting flooded by people. And this one person, Enrique, who I haven't seen since that day, but he came in and he bought a bag of chips and a drink, and he put over $100 in cash on the table, on the counter. And he said, if you close right now, everything that you've ever said was false. We need you. And he didn't, he did his part. That wasn't like, came in and bought a scone, paid an exact change and left and said, I think you're a liar if you close. No, he showed his partnership, his solidarity in, I'm going to stand by what I'm challenging you to honor. And that moment is probably, it's been a while since I've thought about that. I'm sorry if I'm stopping for a second here, but that was probably the foundational moment of the next 3 years after that, is because I reached out to Co-op Partners Warehouse. I reached out to every vendor who I was saying, and they were just so excited and so, in cooperative partnership of like, right, what do you need? Do you need terms? Do you need this? Do you need this? What do you need? What do you need? We'll get it to you. We'll get it to you. And so we, that there was Food Fight Grocery in Portland, that they had been had 3 weeks of these shutdown restrictions. And I sort of was able to see what they were doing and reach out to them and be like, okay, how did you guys do this? What problems did you have? What was going on? And so then we sort of shut down for a few days. I reached out to John Stockman, who I'd met twice And everybody was always like, you guys would get along really great. And I'm like, I don't know. I met that guy. He seems like a jerk, you know? And I just reached out because I knew he was at Reverie at the time. They had shut down. And I was like, hey, dude, you want to keep working? You want to keep going? And, trusted what these other members of the community were saying about this guy. And he came over and we loaded up the whole thing because nobody could come in. So we could just take so much food. And he started doing prepared foods 3 days a week. I just started doing groceries right to the community. And we started posting, the Zion Community Commons right across the street. They had their Thursday food shelf. Well, they had like some trouble with getting food because that whole distribution network also went haywire as all of a sudden, semis of potatoes and carrots and all this other stuff like need some place to go. And we were able to help them process that. We were able to supplement what they were getting. And, in honestly a performative manner that I wouldn't do now, posting photos of it. But then that had people placing their orders by email and saying, and put $50 on, charge me $50 for it. And we made a button on the thing of like community support. So, we just kept doing it. And then, whatever it was, end of March, this woman I now know, Elizabeth, absolutely incredible, but is a regular at that Zion Thursday food shelf. John and I are sitting outside the bodega. Aaron's texting me, watching what started as unrest at the Target with Matt Pravatsky and Mitra Jalali there, trying to mitigate between the police officers and the protesters, and tear gas, and now Target shut down. And Aaron's like, Target just closed their doors. And the next it was Cub just shut their doors. Cub's just closed. And Elizabeth is walking by and she's on the other side of the street, and she stops and she shouts, I just saw 20 men beating an ATM. I can't imagine what it said to them. And just kept walking. And John is like, wait, what? And she's like, at the CVS. And John's like, that's just right over there. And Aaron goes, I get a text from Aaron that says, there's nowhere to get food open in the neighborhood. So I just said, if you need food, stop by. Whatever you need, just come here. We'll feed you. We know our role in this community. This is Joe Strummer time. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been training for. And as soon as we did that, invoice me for $100, invoice me for $50, invoice me for $25. We raised over $11,000. Someone from Illinois who's a parent of a neighbor of mine had me invoice them for $1,000. And then we also, just probably another 9,000 of just go. We can't not do this now. You're right. If I don't do this, everything I ever said is a lie. And we just saw it, and we didn't, and it wasn't just, it was neighbors coming and saying, I have a shut-in, I have a mom who's afraid to leave the house with 2 children, I have an elderly couple that's gluten-free. And other members of the community would come up and we'd have it bagged up, we'd go, they'd drive off. My accountant hated me that year because he's like, did you track all of that? Did you? I'm like, no, I don't care. I tracked it here. I'm tapping my heart. I tracked it, in the people who were, sending appreciations. I tracked it in watching our community, modeling how I wanted to see our community come together. And I think that goes back to Enrique of you can say whatever you want. People say all they want, but we only know how to. We need to model what we want represented, and we need to participate in enacting that. And so, I can't remember the exact day. I remember you because I was like, I think she used to come into Evans. I remember that, and it was something that I'd seen from a lot of people that we still have now. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I think there's times where I'm, depending on who's asking me that, I'm irritated by it. And then there's times where I understand that that's someone's invitation to know this better. And I mean, I can't praise, John Stockman enough. I can't give enough appreciation to the members of the community who recommended him, who knew me, who knew him, because there were so many times in just, 14 days straight, of just being there, just getting stuff in, bagging up bulk goods, bagging up, pasta and that, and we'd sort of stop, and, John was the first to say it. It was a Saturday. Aaron had come down and just, getting, other members, like neighbors, like coming in, loading up stuff, like, coordinating, texting. This is where we're going now. This is where we're going now. All over the cities. People just mobilized. What Zadeh Harut did with starting, at the time, the Rebellion Relief Fund, which is now Seeds Worth Sowing. Someone who I'd known since 2017, vital part of the community dinner program and Eureka Compass, was ready, was like, this was what they were waiting for. And so, coordinating with them. And John just looked up. He's like, hey, I know that this sucks. I know that this is terrible. We all just watched a man get murdered. But I wouldn't want to be anywhere else doing anything else with anyone else than what I'm doing right now. And we've said that to each other. Like, I've said that to other people. Like, I've said that at Resource. I've said that in situations not pertaining to this. I can say that right now. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else doing anything else than I'm doing with anybody else than what I'm doing right now. Like, this is such an incredible privilege to be here. And if any of these actions that I've taken got me to this moment, that's really incredible. I'm like, wow, what did I do? I'm just some punk from Midway, I've been used to spending all my time alone in church basements, like ranting to myself and chopping carrots. But if that's revolutionary, if that's like what's inspiring, that's no judgment or promotion of me. That's reflecting poorly on everything else that's going on. And I'm glad to be blazing this alternative path wherever it goes, whatever happens. Maybe someone will come along later. And now that there's so many of us that are walking this path, it's going to be more likely that someone notices it and says, where does this go? Because we know where this is heading. But who went down here? Where's this go? And that's what this has always been about, is not to gatekeep this, not to say that this is what we need to do, or you need to do this with us. If you want to work with Sanctuary Supply Depot, if you want to work with Community Kitchen Minneapolis, if you want to work with Community Aid Network, if you want to work with Seeds Worth Sowing, that's fine, because we're working with all of them. We're all working with each other, and just if you come across this path, shout, we'll wait up for you. But that's what this was always for, is to model this at a time where people needed someone to hold their hand in that darkness until their eyes adjusted and they began to see the cracks in all of it and where the light was breaking through and where to start chipping away. That's all that this has been. And so that box of groceries was not free, but that box of groceries was community. A community of people who understood that your well-being was their well-being.
Yeah, and so just so that people understand that you actually sleep, eat, and breathe this life, With the open market, I know that you have made it very clear that like this is not a food shelf model. This is not a charity. And I really just love that. I had to just say that again because you have even the playing field by allowing people to invest the amount of money that they would like to towards these open markets to fund the groceries. And then for people who can't afford to invest any money, they can still come in and get the amount of groceries they need. And so I just think that that's so profound because when we think of the system, obviously the hierarchy of economical status, in it kind of enabling this concept that poor people don't deserve basic necessities. That was what was really profound for me, just like coming to the open market and seeing all different types of people, like seeing people who you would consider have privilege, see people who you would consider be low economical status, and all coming together over this one basic necessity that should be a birthright to all people.
And I like the other basic necessity is in there is an honoring of your inherent dignity as another human being. That's really what it is. That's really what it is. And you look at, and I'm going to call them out, whatever. You look at a Second Harvest Heartland, you know, they spent $6.5 million in 2021 on advertising. Their CEO makes $456,000 a year. They're a charity. They need disparity to exist so that they can go to wealthy people and say, could you give us money? And that there's some sort of moral or personal failing of this individual who can't feed themselves or their family. So they need you, who are morally superior, to throw them some crumbs. When what really needs to be said is, you were so cruel and selfish that you manipulated the violent system of capitalism to hoard wealth from yourself and specifically harm these people and force them into a situation of need. And what's actually true is you should probably redistribute your wealth, because personal wealth is a failed and unsustainable lie. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at Mankato in 1961 saying, even if you have $1 billion, you are not rich while I am suffering. You know, like Thomas Paine said this in 1790, you know, that it hits us all. Okay. Bell Hooks speaks of this constantly. Like, you cannot hoard and consolidate in an effort to protect yourself from threats, both real and perceived, when that act of hoarding and consolidating only exacerbates those threats.
Exactly.
You know, so that's what this was. And so then with this charity model, you have people who are already destabilized, already facing certain issues. And you're like, here's expired milk. Here's moldy lettuce. Say thanks. You forgot to say thank you before you left. You know, and also like a Keystone Services, 1600 block or 1900 block there of University, you're going to make a bunch of people line up on the street outside of a food shelf. So everybody driving by.
Oh my God. Yes. The humiliation is crazy.
It's violence. It's violence. It is violence. We need to call this what it is. It's violence. And we know the whole holistic nature of your physical and mental well-being, and how much what you fuel your body with determines that. And to sit here and say, okay, maybe you had to take 2 buses. You know, there's a family that comes in on the Thursday nights, and we met them at a resource open market in February. And then all of a sudden, I was like, maybe, I don't know, you know, they lived in this neighborhood. They showed up at Zion. very soon after that, and they're consistently there. They have a small child, and they load up the stroller with the kid, and they go back down to Minnehaha, and they get on the 67. And the two of them load this up. And when I have people who are like, well, I don't want to take the bus. I'm like, it's inconvenient. Now imagine they had done that to come to a donation-based food shelf, and it's like, well, what we got today is styrofoam trayed, plastic-wrapped corn on the cob, some chicken mozzarella sausages. Oh, you don't eat meat? Oh, well, that's... you should probably just eat whatever. And there's some pumpkin spice coffee creamer. And I'm saying this, that's a real issue that we had at the Zion Thursday afternoon food shelf. As all of a sudden we're like, calling we have some connections with the Hamlin University, food justice organization, and being like, what do you guys got? What do you guys got? Is there anything that we can just get over here? But that was it. And so imagine if they had gotten on a bus with their child, come all the way over there to get off-season corn on the cob. That was the only thing they would have eaten. So they do try to keep vegan. And what a waste of their resources, what a waste of their time, what a waste of their energy. And it's failing. It's failing, and we just continue to be like, well, but Second Harvest Heartland has all those billboards. Yeah, that was your donation. $456,000 a year. They pay 12 employees $2.3 million. You know what we would do with $2.3 million? Feed this community for a decade. We would actually want to end hunger. We wouldn't say we need hunger to exist so people can continue to have a reason to read our donation asks. Charity is caste-based. It's linear. It's derogatory. It's dismissive. Solidarity is reciprocity. It's you have to give, you have to receive. It keeps going, invites everybody in. Everybody has their ownership of creating it. I so much, and I've written about this. I try to just share the burden of the joy that I experience, because there's just these things that it's only I that see. And I can't always be 8:15 on a Thursday night, crying by myself at the beauty of our resilience in a church basement, when it's, I didn't create this. You've created this. You've helped create this. We're all creative. It doesn't matter if nobody shows up. It doesn't matter if there's not these local food resources that we're not asking for them to donate to. We're honoring and respecting their efforts and their role in this community by making sure that we're paying them for their products. We're not saying, oh, look, you're a big company. Look, you've got fancy label. Anybody can make a fancy label and put it on it. That doesn't demonstrate the financial strength or stability of that organization. So, but it's vital that you're here and you're thriving and you're growing, because there's no distance between any of us. So we want to do that. And through this, we've not only supported these vital local food resources, a vital local organic distributor like Co-op Partners, but we've actually introduced people to these products that then they've sought out when they've seen them at their co-op or where they've shopped, or introduce them to new ingredients, introduce them, how do I cook tempeh? I'd love to tell you how to cook tempeh. No, I thought that, Superior small batch sausage was a little dry. You're right, it is. If you cook it that way, this is what I do with it. This is how you do it. And it's this conversation. It's everything. It's, these are the tomatoes that we grew right outside here. And one of the last pop-up open markets we did at Resource, we're stewarding all these garden beds at Zion, stewarding, what I have at home. And this was all like, oh, Phoebe gave us these tomatoes. Oh, Jules brought the arugula seeds. And I was sitting there and I was explaining this one dish. And I was saying to someone, we need to understand that our meals should be a story, not a recipe. Because to think that there's not humans and lives and love and care behind all of this, discredits it. And there are some things that we're putting into our body that don't have that are machines and cogs and exhaust fumes and the endless pollution and unsustainable public cost of maintaining a deteriorating Cold War era transportation system that we're shipping 55 million tons of freight around because we don't want to be satisfied with, squash in Minnesota right now.
And also with that model, you have raised, not only have you created this open market to support, the quest to end hunger, but on top of that, like you said, you have been using these mutual aid funds to distribute it back out into our current economy, the local economy. And in various ways, like you said, you've been supporting these local food organizations. But on top of that, you also helped raise money for Seeds Worth Sowing, which supports Black maternal health. You've raised money towards Black Garnet Books. Can you just talk about these numbers? You helped raise money for Zion Church. Just give us these numbers.
It's been a while since I've looked at it. So we'll look at since the day before Thanksgiving of 2021, when we did the first community dinner. And the community dinner program, so the community dinner is pay what you want, pay what you can, and 50% of all the proceeds that come in go to a philanthropic partner. And so all of the community dinners that we do at the Zion Community Commons help support their food and wellness initiatives. We've raised close to $8,000 now. Through that, we also know that there are other people who have become aware of this and have just sent donations. I don't know what that is, but John Marbo, the pastor there, will be like, "We got a check from somebody. Do you know?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I recognize that name. Okay, they're still around. Cool." Seeds Worth Sowing, over $8,000. And again, they got a grant from Mary Spence organization, and the executive director of Mary Spence is a member of the Patreon community, lives right by Eureka, has been a part of that for a long time. The other contributions that we've gotten through donating, meals or baked goods to their events. It's a lot of just letting people know this is available. What that awareness is. Reclaim LGBTQ Youth is another big philanthropic partner of ours. And a couple thousand, maybe $3,000 now. Tonight's dinner is in support of Coruna Community, Minnesota. Patreon community member Mike Melios founded that. And what Coruna does is they provide yoga, meditation, and mindfulness trainings in prisons in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. A lot of the Hennepin County Women's Detention Center. They've done some stuff up in Stillwater. They've done some stuff in St. Cloud. That's intense. Like that's not like, no, the carceral system isn't working. That's maybe we need to offer these individuals the tools to exist and grow within a traumatic environment after what was probably a traumatic situation with a lot of uncertainty in your future. So let's maybe sit there and say, hey, it's okay to just breathe right now. I'm glad to support them. I'm glad that Mike was someone who took their own trauma and difficulties and found that direct action in service of improving the environment around you was self-care, because I understand that a great deal. And so we've raised, getting close to 1,000 or more for that. The community dinners used to be such a bigger thing. It's so hard to give away food because people, even though the pandemic's still going on, even though the very fabric of society continues to rip apart ever more rapidly, people just can't live in that moment that they were in 2020, 2021. And they've just shied away from actually taking meaningful actions to end the trauma that they're experiencing. They're just salving it with ignorance or avoidance or distractions. But this Thanksgiving is the 7th annual day before Thanksgiving community dinner. And to keep something going for 7 years is incredible. And we'll probably, we added and growth with that, where last day before Thanksgiving, we had the biggest open market we've ever done as part of that, because I'd begun working with the Thursday food shelf at Zion and was like, oh, you guys don't do this on Thanksgiving. That seems unfortunate to not do anything. Whatever you want to say about Thanksgiving, I would suggest anyone to seek out Lila June, Indigenous educator and environmental scientist, and what they've written about Thanksgiving, and feel free to enjoy it if you use it as a moment to actually demonstrate thankfulness and honor all that you have. But we crowdfunded again. That was the first that got me on Venmo. That got me the first Venmo campaign, and we generated over $2,300 in solidarity from the community to provide a really huge open market, along with what's always the biggest community dinner of the year. And looking forward to doing that again this year. And as much as I totally rejected Venmo for so long, I love it as modeling what a lie money is. That this is just data moved around, then moved around, and then moved to some other people. It's not backed by anything. It's not you couldn't cash out all the data that represents money and get cash. You can't. It doesn't exist. And so you just point out where you're just sure, yeah, keep believing that. I'll believe food's important.
And I know that you read a lot, and I just want to highlight the fact that for the last couple of open markets, you have raised, or you have used $500 to distribute $500 worth of gift cards to the community to go to Black Garnet Books and get books.
Yes. Oh my God. Dion, Chris, Nova. I first met Dion, actually, they were tabling with a neighbor about rent control in St. Paul. And they came and they set up, fall of 2020 in front of Eureka with Carlos Stewart when he launched Granola Girl. It was rowdy. Carlos rolls up, and I was like, Dion from Black Garnet Books is here. He's like, wait, what? Oh, God. And it just started that, and then, visiting their pop-up over at Merci Tattoo, finding A Terrible Thing to Waste by Harriet Washington, which I'm just like, everybody needs to read this book. Don't even talk to me till you've read this book. You don't even know what is going on. You don't even know what's causing these problems till you've read this book. And talking with Dion and saying, you need to, okay, you're trying to get something in the Midway, and, talking about how to deal with like landlords, to get some static from just some stupid landlords. And I was like, first of all, who you're talking to isn't the boss. You created something. You're the boss. You can sit there and be like, can I talk to who's in charge about this? Like you're paying them for a service. Don't treat them like they control your future. Treat them like a roofer who didn't do the job right. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. Their perception of it is wrong. And so we had this really connection of just valuing what they were doing, and that they were looking to bring that to my neighborhood where I live. Was like, this is what we need. This is what we need. You need to text Mitra right now. Here's her number. And then Dion got that STAR grant. They moved into a neighborhood, an intersection that they're right across from Target is just incredible, but just saying, this isn't just a bookstore. This is a community. Again, Zachary and I, when we need to have, because Zachary lives right by there, when we need to have like really meaningful meetings, we go and have them at Black Garnet. Because you could sit at a distracted coffee shop, or you can sit surrounded by knowledge and story and experience and the people who come in there. And we've just had these great meetings there, and just saying, okay, I can sit here and I can recommend books. I can go to thrift books or discount books and find, a copy of Deep Economy for like $3 and buy 10 of them and give them away. Or someone who is coming into an open market and may need assistance just affording the essential resources of healthful nourishment is then going to be able to go and buy a brand new book. And directly, so not being like, hey, Dion, do you want to donate $500 worth of gift cards to this? No, community, people who are making like a lot of money. Do you have $5, to Venmo us? Do you have the digital equivalent of $5 to transfer to our digital thing somewhere where this doesn't really exist, but we just accept that it's real? And we'll do this. We'll help support another vital local resource in our community, and hopefully encourage the radical act of rebellion that it is to just sit someplace and read a book. You can read a book about a bicycle and you won't start getting targeted ads for bicycles. No one knows what you're doing. You're not consuming anything. You're not supporting, whatever you want to say about Hollywood. Great, you paid the writers and these people a little bit more. It's still all the same capitalist oligarchs investing in the colonization of thought by making sure that we are, as many people as possible are being influenced by the exact same thing at the exact same time. I don't care. Read a book. Sit here. Here's some books that you should read. Here's some suggestions that I have. Go ask Dion. Go ask Chris. Hopefully Nova's there and you can pet Nova. Remember to play fetch with Nova. Do it, but just experience this and know that in all of the absolutely terrible situations that and trauma and nasty things that are presented to us, you can still go and sit in this space and see these people and be surrounded by this and do it.
That's awesome. Can you share how people can get involved with you, and what are next steps for you, Colin?
So this is October is going to be a kind of a hiatus as we prepare to ramp up back into the winter. If you are on Instagram, Eureka Compass Vegan Food, the Twin Cities Vegan Chef Collective, which is the TCVCC. Yeah. You can go to where the Eureka Compass veganfood.com website is slightly outdated. You can click on the community tab and find out more about the community dinners, the open markets. You can link to the Patreon page there. That's going to be updated. You can stop by, the Zion Community Commons, 1697 LaFond Avenue, and on a Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3, ask for me. I'm going to be away for the beginning of October, but I'll be back after the 18th. And or you can go to patreon.com and search for the Twin Cities Vegan Chef Collective Community Dinner. Not all of the posts on the Patreon are behind the paywall. A lot of that. So if you're interested in just gardening tips, food preservation, cooking, radically anti-capitalist rants, encouraging living in honor for our inherent interconnectedness, you'll find some of those. If you feel like redistributing some wealth towards the creation of a more secure, equitable, and sustainable local network of commerce for providing the essential resources of existence to all of our neighbors, $2 a month is great. And I think that you can, you could go into Black Garnet Books at Hamlin and University and be like, hey, has Colin been in recently? Or, hey, can you send Colin a message for me? Chris or Dion will be able to get you in touch with me.
Cadence Records.
Cadence Records, yeah. If you go into Cadence and be like, yeah, Colin sent me. I'm looking for him. Matt can send me a text. Corey, Nikki, Kevin there. Yeah. Go to Cadence Records and Coffee anyways. Just go there. Make a whole, you can take the A line or get on the green line, stop at Hamlin, go to Black Garnet Books, continue downtown, get on the 64, head up to the Rockin' East Side, go to Cadence Records and Coffee, and then also go down to Tongue in Cheek to get the truly best vegan food in the Twin Cities from just these wild chefs who just love making really unique, seasonally appropriate vegan food. And then keep going closer to Maryland, keep going north on Payne and go to Urban Roots and ask for, tell them Colin sent you. Tell them Colin and Zachary from the Twin Cities Vegan Chef Collective wanted me to say what's up, and have see what Urban Roots is doing up there for educating our incredibly motivated and action-oriented younger generation on land stewardship and community care and food preservation and learning to nurture themselves.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. This was so much fun. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Oh, here comes the bass. Feel the power. Feel the beat.
Yo.